You are listening to the International Radio Report. Your reactions are much appreciated. Feel free to send them to radioreport@yahoo.com. That is radioreport@yahoo.com. Thank you.
Welcome to the International Radio Report for Sunday, August the 21st, 2022 on CKUT 90.3 FM in Montreal. My name's Sheldon. I am here with Jill. We thank you for tuning in to our show today. If you'd like to reach us, our email address is radioreport@yahoo.com. Our show is live streaming and archived at the CKUT website, ckut.ca. We invite you to join our Facebook group. It is International Radio Report. We welcome Mark, Javier, and an organization that some of you may have heard on WRMI, Radio Miami. The group is Radio for Peace International, so we welcome them aboard. We're at 835 members. And if you want to check out the show at your own leisure, you can check it out on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is International Radio Report, 674 subscribers. You can subscribe and receive a notice each time the new shows are posted up there. So we'll get right to things. We have a lot of news going on right here in Montreal. We know that some of this information might not mean a lot to our international listeners, but we do like to talk a little bit about radio in Montreal at times as well. And we're coming up to the new season of radio in Montreal in most places. September is a new ratings period. It's when most shows debut new programming or new hosts or announcers. And we certainly have a lot of that going on here in Montreal right now. And all of it right now, at least on the French side of media in Montreal. We thank Normand Martel, who keeps an ear out to changes and developments in French radio in Montreal for us. So he's passed along a number of stories for us. The first one comes from the news station CHMP 98.5 in Montreal. Luc Ferrandez will become a star host of the Montreal radio station's programming from August the 22nd. So that's coming up this Monday. The La Presse is reporting on this. Luc Bélanger is the reporter. Luc Ferrandez is the former mayor of the Plateau-Mont-Royal borough of Montreal, and he will be the host of a program called Sans Réserve, which is Without Reserve, a new program that will cover the news of the week from noon to 3 p.m. on 98.5. This came about because of the resignation of former host Bernard Drinville, who is returning to politics and standing for election in the fall for the CAQ party. So that left an opening as his popular program, the most listened to midday show, Drainville PM, disappears because of his departure. So Ferrandez will be stepping into that slot. His program will be, as he calls it, for amateurs of opinion. Like the host, he's known for his outspokenness and will continue to take a stand on social issues that are close to his heart, such as the environment and urban planning. So that is coming up starting tomorrow on 98.5 from noon to 3 p.m.
Probably going to be quite popular. I mean, Luc Ferrandez is one of those somewhat controversial mayor at times, but also was extremely popular in his Plateau-Mont-Royal area. So, and he does pretty much say what he thinks. So I think it's going to be an interesting show. We've got big changes coming to a station, CKLX 91.9 Sports. And so we have various people coming in. This one is from La Presse by Henri Ouellet-Vézina via Normand Martel. So La Presse has learned that former mayor of Montreal, Denis Coderre, will be on the airwaves of 91.9 Sports daily from August 29th. Official announcement was made Wednesday when the station's lineup was unveiled. Several sources confirmed the news during the day on Tuesday. According to our information, Mr. Coderre's column will focus on sport, but also on politics. It will air during the prime time at the start of the day, probably during the Jean-Charles Lajoie program. It will essentially be broadcast on the entire RNC media network across Quebec. Mr. Lajoie will continue to host TVA Sport simultaneously. We also have, once again, another change at 91.9. This is by Charles-Alexis Brisebois dans les coulisses.com via Normand Martel. 91.9 Sports presented its new schedule for the next radio season, which will begin on August 29th. There were many questions to answer after learning that a few important personalities, LP Guy, Evelyn Audet, Stéphane Gonzalez, and Raphaël Doucet, to name a few, would not be back. We learned a few months ago the station will be part of a network at RNC. This replaces the stations currently known as Vibe in Quebec, 100.9, and Gatineau on 96.5, and obviously includes 91.9 Montreal. Such a sports network in French on the radio is a first in North America. The name of the network will be BPM Sport, meaning beats per minute, and I guess in French, it still works, will be battements par minute, I would guess. And so BPM Sport will probably be the brand name they'll use all the time. In Montreal, we are therefore talking about BPM Sport 91.9. The morning, noon, and drive-home shows will be produced in Montreal, but broadcast at the same time in the Ottawa and the National Capital Region. Between these shows in Montreal, there will be other sports shows, and in the regions, there will be music. The only exception, the evening show will be made from Quebec, but broadcast on the rest of the network. And, of course, another name that will be in the same 91.9 Sport, Paul Hood. This is from La Presse by Alexandre Pratt. Paul Hood has found his new team, 91.9 Sports. The most courted free agent on Montreal radio will host a weekend morning show debuting to September 3rd. And if his show is as entertaining as our meeting on Tuesday when you visited Laurier Avenue Studios for the first time, you will be in for a treat. His love for numbers is well known to the general public, his interest in athletics too. He was a television analyst at the Barcelona and Atlanta games. At the microphone of 91.9 Sports, he will be able to chat with thousands of fans whose mood also varies according to the performance of their favorite team. An unexpected challenge, which thrills him. What will his show be about? Paul Hood has been at Cogeco for nearly 25 years when his bosses decided last spring not to renew his mandate as the weekend morning host, a decision he says he respects, but which saddened him. It was his lawyer who negotiated to move to 91.9 Sports. This popular host will also have a weekly column at Ici Première. So lots of changes on 91.9. I mean, they're kind of wanting to be that new, real, important sports stop on the radio for sure in Montreal.
Yeah, and all of this is happening, starting in the next week or two. And, just coming into September, of course, the Montreal Canadiens will be starting up again their new season and, lots of sports going on. So they're really trying to make a mark and bringing in some big names. Now, there's one other local story that's kind of confusing, and it's involving Paul Hood, who you just mentioned, as going on to 91.9 Sports. What's really strange is he's also going to be on Radio-Canada's 95.1 FM station in Montreal as a weekly contributor. Now, we're talking two companies that are basically competitors, the national broadcaster Radio-Canada and the 91.9 Sports station, which is owned by basically a competitor. So how is he going to do two things at once? Well, it turns out that he's only going to be on Radio-Canada on Fridays. He will do basically a commentary with the Tout un Matin team, and it will be on Fridays starting on September the 2nd. So he says that he intends to tackle a variety of subjects, especially the news of the week, which would have escaped us. So maybe digging into some stories that didn't get a lot of coverage or something. So two paychecks for the same guy from two different radio companies, which is something that really doesn't happen very often in radio.
It's almost like breaking the rule.
Yeah.
You can't be somewhere else when you're here. So that is interesting.
anyways, they're going to coexist, it seems. So anyways, lots of changes on the French side of Montreal radio coming up. We'll probably get some more of these as as the weeks go by and we get into the fall season.
So what's happening with our sun? A lot is happening with our sun this week. There's one particular sunspot that actually sent a lot of CMEs, or coronal mass ejections, by having some solar flares. There were more than a dozen C flares and 4 M-class solar flares from AR 3078, which of course prompted many media and many people to start talking about geomagnetic storms and possible auroras visible everywhere. So all of these kind of arrived in succession, and we thought they would maybe create a really big geomagnetic storm, at least a G3 class moderate storm. It never reached G3. It stayed pretty much at the G2 level, and there were auroras seen many places, and it's not over yet. Apparently, the impacts will continue to have itself felt. And including today, they said, even today on the 21st, we should maybe check out for auroras. It's not impossible that there could still be some geomagnetic storming because of all the activity. But things are quieting down as the sunspot is going to slowly leave the Earth-facing side as the sun rotates. So things are quieting down, and hopefully we'll have a little more quiet but good conditions this week. Solar flux is around 117, the sunspot number 83. And if you want to see auroras, why not bring a shortwave radio? So like that, you can turn on a radio and listen.
This is Glenn Hauser. You're listening to the International Radio Report. 30 minutes of radio news and information every Sunday morning on CKUT 90.3 FM in Montreal and online at ckut.ca.
Speaking of radios, we had you gave us a bit of an update on the new radio that everyone is talking about, and now you have some more news about it.
Yeah, so the Ethon Satellite HD is finally available for real. The first note of this, or the first news of this, was from a friend of mine, Patrick Nobel at Ham Radio Outlet, that sent me an email to say, hey, we've received the first radios. So they are available, but there's a little bit of, there's kind of an unusual thing happening right now. So Universal Radio also got them. Universal Radio has posted on its website that they're not shipping them yet because while testing one of them at their facility, the quality control problems might have come up. They say there's something not right with the radio and that they contacted Ethon in order to see what can be done. So this is intriguing because they're not mentioning what it is. We don't know. And, well, I might know because I actually ordered one yesterday. So that means I might actually know why at some point. I don't know if it's something that can be fixed or if it's something that maybe is part of what the radio is all about. And, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see because the radio is really expensive. And it better be a good radio because at that price point, you can't miss the spot.
Yeah, you certainly hope that it's something that's a quick fix or what have you. But if it's something major, I don't know how many radios they've circulated around the world and how many people may have already ordered. I know there were a lot of people ordering sort of advanced models, get their name in quickly.
Yeah.
So we shall see. Once you have one, I'm sure you'll be doing some YouTube videos about that and talking about it on your live YouTube shows as well. So
yeah, and we'll I'll have a small review on this on the show in a few weeks after testing it.
Very good. Next, we go to an interesting story. 8-year-old girl chats with International Space Station astronaut using ham radio, from Hafsa Khalil at CNN. When Isabella Payne heads back to elementary school in September, she's going to have the best "What I Did on My Vacation" story to tell. In a tale of right place, right time, the 8-year-old girl from Kent in southeast England spoke with American astronaut Kel Lindgren aboard the International Space Station using her dad's ham radio. From her dad's lap, she told Lindgren her name and age. His voice instantly changed from normal to joyful, she said. You could hear his smile. Isabella's dad, Matthew Payne, 42, said he has held an amateur radio license for 22 years. He told CNN that conversations with astronauts are kept short, with a brief mention of your call sign. Every person with a license is allocated one by official agencies, and to tell them who you are, your name, and a quick thank you and goodbye. They're only in the sky above us for 10 to 15 minutes, and we want as many people as possible down here to have that kind of experience, he explained. He said the International Space Station has an amateur radio station aboard that is used by astronauts to make contact with schools while in orbit. Occasionally, during their downtime, they also call out to any amateur radio operators on Earth. So, Isabel has something interesting to tell people about.
Definitely. This is a really cute, nice story. And for those that wonder, you can also operate the amateur radio repeater aboard the ISS. So if you know when it passes over, the uplink frequency is 145,990, and the downlink frequency is 437,800. And it's a pretty good repeater. It really is easy to hear, even with a handheld scanner. If you're just a listener, tune in 437,800 when the space station passes over your city. It's really, really fun.
Yeah, it is line of sight, obviously. So with the space station up as high as it is, it does just, it has a window over you as it passes by, and it's moving pretty quickly. So that window is very short. So you do have to use their software programs and web pages that show you the times that it's going to be passing over your area.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of Doppler effect. So when the station moves, you got to kind of adjust the frequency a few kilohertz higher and lower as it moves along. So there's a statement on the suspension of license of VOA affiliate Radio Dario in Nicaragua. This is the Voice of America news release via Kim Andrew Elliott. So the Voice of America denounces the Nicaraguan government's decision to cancel the operating license of Radio Dario, a VOA and USAGM affiliate. The Nicaraguan Telecommunications Institute, Telcor, announced the cancellation via a letter to our affiliate. The letter states that an on-site inspection at the facilities of this radio verified that its transmission studios do not correspond to those authorized by the license, and that the facilities in which it must operate have been modified and altered as the main justifications for pulling the radio station's license. Anibal Toruño, director of Radio Dario, believes that the Telcor decision is political. He told VOA that his radio station has fulfilled the legal operation requirements. I had reports that they had to find any justification for their resolution, and they invented technical issues with no basis. Radio Dario is one of the oldest and most recognized radio stations in Nicaragua, broadcasting for more than 70 years. It is one of the few independent media outlets that dare to criticize the current Ortega administration's actions and policies. We are alarmed that our affiliate is the subject of this type of intimidation. We believe that this action restricts the free flow of news and information to the citizens of Nicaragua and undermines press freedom in the country. Similarly to the current situation at Radio Dario, in the last 2 months alone, the Nicaraguan government revoked the licenses of 17 media outlets. In addition, the Ortega government's systemic campaign against independent media resulted in 136 journalists fleeing the country to Costa Rica since 2018, including VOA's correspondents who left the country in December of 2021. How nice it is to find technical issues when you want to take a station off the air and pretend that it has nothing to do with politics.
Yep, exactly. And well, the track record proves itself there of, how many stations they have taken off. And I'm sure, an American backed station It's not going to go over too well in Ortega's regime down there. So we'll see what happens with that, whether they can get themselves back on. Maybe they can move it to another country and broadcast into Nicaragua.
Yep.
Could be one way of doing it. Our final story is from the Palestine News and Information Agency. This comes through Radio World. After Israeli shooting at a radio station in Palestine, journalists Syndicate renews call for international protection. This comes from Ramallah on Wednesday, August the 10th. The Palestinian Journalists Syndicate, in light of yesterday's Israeli army shootings at a radio station in the West Bank city of Nablus, has renewed its call on the international community to provide protection for journalists working in the occupied Palestinian territories. The PJS condemned in a statement the shooting at the main office of Shabab FM radio station in Nablus, which was hit by 3 bullets threatening the life of the workers at the station. It said the bullets, which hit the studios of the radio station located on the 9th floor of a building in the city center, were apparently fired by a sniper, which clearly proves that the highly visible radio station was directly targeted. Shabab FM said in a statement that even though some members of the staff were close to where the bullets hit, the damage was confined to the property only. The PJS held the Israeli occupation responsible for this crime, calling on the International Federation of Journalists to denounce it and to pursue the Israeli occupation for its crimes committed against journalists. It also called upon the United Nations to provide protection to journalists by implementing Resolution 2222 on the protection of journalists in occupied areas, and to make sure that the occupation leaders do not get impunity, because otherwise they will continue their attacks against Palestinian journalists. Israeli army units raided Nablus yesterday, during which soldiers shot and killed 3 Palestinians and injured some 70 others. Well, that's not a fun situation. More conflicts, targeting radio stations, of course, as we always say, they are important, getting messages out to the public. And when other opposition parties don't like those messages going out, those radio stations and the people who work at them get targeted.
Yep, it's sad to see how in some countries it's so dangerous to actually do your standard job of journalism, and it is those people that will often get the truth out and will let us know what happens. So kudos to them, and it is sad to see that they're targeted like this. So there's some upcoming ham radio contests.
There are. It's going to be a busy weekend coming up for the 27th and the 28th and 29th of August. First, the Hawaii QSO Party, 0400 August 27th to 0400 August 29th. It's organized by the Hawaii QSO Party Group, and it's to promote contacts between as many Hawaiian and non-Hawaiian ham stations as possible. It's 10 through 160 meters, and it is all modes, including all of the digital modes.
So this is an interesting one. It's the Australian Ladies Amateur Radio Association contest from 06 Zulu to August 27th to 05:59 Zulu August 28th. Ladies work everyone, men work only ladies. The bands 160 through 10 meters, no work bands, and it's phone and CW.
Yeah, that should be interesting. There's not a lot of women ham operators out there in the world, so this is really going to highlight them in Australia. And so if you're a female ham radio operator, get on the air on that weekend and participate. We have the WVE Islands QSO Party, 1200 Zulu August 27th to 0300 Zulu August 28th, organized by the U.S. Islands Awards Program. American and Canadian island stations can work everyone, and non-island stations should be looking for the American or Canadian island stations. 160 through 6 meters, phone, CW, and digital. And hey, Montreal is an island.
Yeah, it could be one of the island stations.
That's right. So maybe some of our local people here will be on the air operating.
So there's the Worldwide DGDX contest, 12 hours Zulu August 27 to 12 hours Zulu August 28, organized by the Worldwide Radio Operators Foundation and the Slovenia Contest Club. Bands are 1.8, 3.5, 7, 14, 21, and 28 megahertz, and it is a FT4 and FT8 only contest.
The Romanian Amateur Radio Federation is holding their DXHF contest, 1200 Zulu August 27th to 1200 Zulu August 28th, 80 through 10 meters, no work bands, and that one is both SSB and CW. The
Kansas QSO Party, 1400 Zulu August 27th to 20 hours Zulu August 28th, organized by the Kansas QSO Party Group. The bands are 80 through 6 meters, and you can be in single sideband, CW, digital, and FM. Ohio is also having their QSO party, 1600 Zulu August 27th to 0400 Zulu August 28th. That's organized by the Mad River Radio Club, 160 through 10 meters, no work bands. It is phone and CW. And there's the CVA-DX contest, SSB, 2100 Zulu, August 27 to 2100 Zulu, August 28. It's organized by Club de Radioamadores da Escola de Comunicação, Brazil. And this is bands 160 through 10 meters, mode SSB. Yeah, we don't hear much out of Brazil, so that'll be interesting to see some Brazilian hams on the air for that one as well. We don't hear much, but it's probably, if I listen to the ham bands, it's probably one of the most active countries in South America on the ham bands, though. Well, there should be a lot of activity on all of the bands over the weekend with all those different events going on, so check them out and see if you can make some interesting contacts. And I think there'll be some pretty crowded bands with all those events going on at the same time. Yep, absolutely. So we packed a lot of information this week, and we are out of time. We thank you for tuning in, and you can check out the show again if you've missed it live. You know where to find us. We are on YouTube. International Radio Report is the channel. And do check out our Facebook group, International Radio Report. We'd love to have you join us there. As we work our way towards 1,000 members, that would be really neat to get to 1,000. We're at 835 right now. So if you haven't joined up, do consider it. Lots of great information there. That's it for us this week. We'll come back again next Sunday with another half hour of news and information from the world of radio on the International Radio Report on CKUT 90.3 FM in Montreal. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.
This is your program, Moscow Mailbag. And here is Joe Adamoff to answer your questions. Michael Brown of Santa Ana, California. Recently, we have a new form of entertainment in the United States. This consists of male strip shows in which male dancers disrobe until they're naked in front of women patrons. On a moral level, would this kind of entertainment be allowed in the Soviet Union?
The answer to that is certainly not. It is not our idea of entertainment, any more than sexual acts performed publicly at nightclubs. I know that you do have this sort of entertainment too. But it's not for me to criticize your way of life. But since you've asked the question, I'm answering it. If you can have male strip shows, I think the next logical step would be, why not legalize prostitution, for instance? Why not? Why not legalize houses of ill fame? Why not? I will say this, though, that we are a collective society, but we feel there are certain aspects of life which should remain private, and sex is one of them. Mind you, I have criticized our own people, too, for being too prudish. But what you quote...